There are many things around us that acts as a total deception and don't actually work. Most are essentially a placebo, intended to trick your mind into thinking you are in control, which is obviously not the case. There is no single reason to why businesses and governments trick us into thinking these things actually work. It could be about the money, convenience, or some problem with the underlying technology. Nevertheless, watch on, you will be surprised by some of these discoveries. Number 1. Fitness trackers. Fitness trackers found on most watches work really well, only when it comes to monitoring your heart rate. But if you're concerned about measuring the amount of calories you burn during exercise, then you should forget about it, because they are very inaccurate. This problem is one that even affects top-end fitness trackers, including the Apple Watch, Fitbit Surge, Microsoft Band, and the Samsung Gear S2. A 2017 study by researchers from the Stanford University School of Medicine revealed that fitness trackers have a low margin of error of less than 5% when it comes to measuring the heart rate, which is pretty much okay. However, the same fitness trackers had a high margin of error when it was used to measure calories burned during exercise. The data retrieved from a Fitbit Surge was wrong by 27%, which is too high. That becomes troubling when we realize it performed the best among the 7 devices. The Samsung Gear S2 performed worst, with an error margin of 93%. Fitness trackers are not the best for measuring calories, because differences in height and weight, among other factors, mean that people burn calories at different rates. Number 2. Sunscreens. They are most commonly used during the summer, and have only one job, and that is to protect us from the harmful UV rays. A study by the Environmental Working Group has shown that they fail miserably in doing so. Only 1 in every 4 actually work. They conduct annual studies to determine the effectiveness of sunscreens. In 2017, the group revealed that only 43% of the 880 sunscreens it tested worked as advertised. The rest either did not work, or contained some troubling ingredients that could do more harm than good. The study revealed that most sunscreens did not protect users from UVA or B. Some sunscreen makers also claimed their products had a sun protection factor over 50, an indication of a high-quality product, even though the actual SPF turned out to be much lower. The misleading labeling could cause users to think they are fully protected than they really are. Number 3. The thermostat found in most hotel room. Have you ever reduced the temperature of your hotel air conditioning system and still wasn't happy with it? This may happen a lot to most people, considering that many thermostats in hotels do not actually work. Hotel operators have placed them strategically as part of the room feature, but in actual fact, they don't want you to constantly ask them to adjust the temperature, as it can be time-consuming. Besides, they want to avoid anyone leaving a negative review, because it could be bad for the business. A regular thermostat is fitted with many detectors. They automatically adjust the temperature depending on your movement and the surrounding temperature. Some even signal the air conditioning system to stop working as soon as you leave the room. While keeping the use of energy low may be a good thing for the environment, that is not the reason why they alter the thermostats. Hotels save money when lodgers use less energy, which is why hotels are desperate to keep that in check. Number 4. Sports drinks are often promoted as the holy grail for athletes. These days, advertisers advise athletes to guzzle a drink throughout their exercise to prevent dehydration and the loss of electrolytes, even though they would be better off drinking regular water. Sports drinks are somewhat the same as mineral water, with the exception of extra minerals, a ton of sugar, coloring, and flavor. Those minerals are often sodium and potassium, which are what we consider electrolytes. Sports drinks are very addictive, therefore, consuming excessive amounts of liquid at any time could lead to overhydration. This often leads to a shortage of sodium in the blood, since excessive amounts of water dilutes the sodium content. No marathon runner has ever died of dehydration, but as of 2012, 16 have died from overhydration and hyponatremia. Over 1,600 more had been hospitalized. That said, sports drinks can work for athletes who engage in high-endurance exercise only, that last for over an hour. The average person who has a basic exercise routine should just drink regular water. Number 5. Train station buttons. Tube trains operating in London have open buttons that passengers can press to open the train doors. Some even have a close button that supposedly allows the passengers to close the train doors right before it begins its journey. We say supposedly, because the buttons don't work. The doors are controlled by the train drivers. Passengers actually could operate the doors until the 1990s, when operators discovered that the trains spent less time at the stations when the driver had full control of the doors. There were many reasons to which management were forced to pass the controls to the drivers, mainly due to safety. In one case in 1985, there was a passenger who kept pressing the close button, while other passengers were still boarding. One such prank ended in a disaster, when a boy was injured after getting stuck in the door. In some trains, the buttons have now been removed completely. Number 6. A cleaning software. Ever come across a computer software that promises to clean your computer and make it as fast as it was when you first bought it? They are mostly useless, to say the least. In fact, they have a terrible reputation in the tech community, and have been described as the digital version of the snake oil fraud. The premium third-party cleaners are often rigged to make us think they really work, when they actually don't. They detect non-problems and list them as problems. For instance, most will consider temporary files and browser history as having an effect on the speed of the computer, even though they don't. Various PC cleaning software programs also exaggerate smaller problems and make them seem larger than they actually are. Most operating systems have built-in cleaners that works absolutely fine if you ever need to clean your computer, and they do not require you to cash out extra money. Number 7. Pedestrian crossing buttons. Many watching this have likely had the experience of being at a road crossing and pressing the button, hoping the walk signal will come up. Well, it turns out that those buttons don't always work. We could put them into 3 categories. The first one always works, the second works on and off, and the third does not work at all. For the first, the walk light will only come up if a pedestrian presses the button, usually located in non-busy areas. In the second instance, the walk light is programmed to automatically come up during periods of heavy pedestrian traffic. However, it requires a pedestrian to press the button before it will show up. In the third instance, the walk signal comes up at intervals, whether there is a pedestrian waiting to cross or not. Pressing the button does absolutely nothing in this instance. That said, it can be difficult for pedestrians to determine whether a crosswalk button works, so just push the button anyway. Or you could simply wait and see if the walk signal lights up. Number 8. Progress bars. They are widely used to show the percentage time left to complete a download on our phones, computers, and other electrical gadgets. However, they don't really work, at least not in the way we think. For instance, a progress bar at 50% does not mean half of a file has been downloaded. Almost all of the file could have been downloaded, or none at all. Progress bars are not accurate, because downloads involve many variables, way beyond the control of the system. For one, internet speeds and network availability often determine how quickly a download will take to complete. Also, a hard drive can make a copy of a single large file a lot quicker compared to a number of smaller ones, even if their total size is less than the larger one. The reason for this is, the hard drive expends more time and resources in finding and processing series of smaller files than finding and processing a single larger one.